Surds and appropriate rounding.
Surds. This might sound like a new word, so let's start off with what a surd is. A surd is an irrational number. Okay, we covered in our previous video what an irrational number is as part of the number system, but it's something that is having decimals which are not recurring and not terminating. So an example of this might include the square root of 5. If we punch in the square root of 5 on our calculator, can you see here? This is not terminating and not recurring. And also, when you input it, your answer is given with a root. So this is an example of what a surd is. So it's irrational, and it's something which usually has a root in the answer. A few more examples include the square root of 8, the square root of 47, fourth root of 102. All of these, because when we input them into the calculator, it's going to usually spit out something that has the root symbol in it, and converting it to a decimal, it's going to be classified as irrational. Let's look at how we could expand these surds without the use of a calculator. So we're going to try to simplify them. The square root of 8, it's not a perfect square here, so we're not going to get a rational answer. What we can do is take it and expand it using a perfect square. So I can think of 4 times 2. 4 is a perfect square, so this is a good number to include in a pair. Now that we've broken the number up to make its product, you can evaluate the root over each one. So that is root 4 times root 2. Now we can compute the answer. The square root of 4 is 2, and we're multiplying that by root 2. So there we go. We've successfully managed to simplify it. The next one is the square root of 27. What about 9 times 3? That's perfect, because when we evaluate what the square root of 9 is, we can obtain an answer. The square root of 9 is 3, and then we have root 3, which can't be further simplified upon inspection. What about if I have the cube root of 256? Now you need to look for a number that is a perfect cube that can be multiplied with something to yield 256. What about this one? If we take the cubic root, perhaps 64 multiplied by 4. That's great, because I can take the cubic root, evaluate it over each one of these. Cubic root of 64 multiplied by the cubic root of 4. The cubic root of 64 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 times 4 is 64. So that's 4, and we have a root 4. Okay, so this is just how you would expand it. This is a very popular test and exam question. Between which two consecutive integers does, they're going to give you a particular number, here it's root 47, lie. So always look at what type of surd is involved in the question. This is a square, right? So you need to know what your perfect squares are. 1 squared is 1. 2 squared, 2 times 2, 4. 3 squared, 3 times 3, 9. 4 squared, 5 squared, 6 squared, 7 squared, 8 squared, 9 squared, 10 squared, 11 squared, 12 squared, 13 squared. All right, you don't really need to go beyond that, but it's good to know these out of your head. So because these are the perfect squares and we're dealing with square roots, let's locate which number 47 is close to. Do you agree with me that 47 is smaller than 49 but greater than 36? So it's situated somewhere there. So to start this answer, say to your teacher or your examiner, 47, it is less than 49, but it is greater than 36. So when we take the root of these numbers, you're going to evaluate the root of the ones you've chosen, the perfect squares that you've chosen. And you can compute the answer to these. The square root of 36 is 6. And the square root of 49 is 7. So root 47 lies somewhere between 6 and 7. So you can just finish off and say, therefore, it lies between 6 and 7. Perfect. This is exactly what we want to see. Consecutive means one term after the other. So 6 and 7 are indeed consecutive. Let's just use the calculator to verify that, to check that you're on the right track. If we take the square root of 47 and convert it to a decimal, look at that, guys, 6.8556 and so on. So when you see this number, check, does it lie between 6 and 7? It does indeed. It's bigger than 6, but still smaller than 7. Okay, and just finally, a little bit on rounding. If we look at these surds or irrational numbers, say we take root 47, this is now a separate thing, doesn't follow on from this question. Can you see that the answer to this is 6,8556546? Now, if this is our final answer, you need to round it off to the appropriate amount of decimal places as indicated in your test or by your teacher. So generally in a test, it's to 2 decimal places. So this is how I want you to do it. Locate the decimal and look for the second position, 1, 2. So that's the 5. We want to end at 2 places. But you need to base it on the neighbor, the third one. 5, when a number is 5 or above, we round it up. So that means this number is going to round off to 6,86. You may be required to round off to the first decimal place. In that case, it would look like this. 6,9. First decimal place is 8. We base it off the second one, which is 5, pushing us up so that 8 turns to a 9. If you've enjoyed this video and you've learned something from it, you may want to check this one out next. A like and a subscribe will help us to grow our channel, and feel free to share this with any of your friends so we can all achieve academic success together. See you in the next one.